Hi, and welcome to Drupal Brief. This is an AI-generated summary of another video, podcast, or blog post. If you want to learn more about what's being discussed here, then please go check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. Okay, that's it. Make sure to click subscribe, and here we go.
Okay, let's unpack this. You want to know what's really happening in the world of Drupal right now. Not just wading through everything, but getting a focused, curated view.
Yeah, it's like needing a compass and map through a whole lot of information terrain. And today, our map and compass are, well, a single source.
Exactly. We're doing a deep dive entirely focused on one specific snapshot. Issue 683 of the Weekly Drop newsletter, dated May 22nd, 2025.
Right.
It's a fantastic curated collection of Drupal news, links, and updates put together by Bob Kepford.
And our mission is pretty straightforward, really.
Yeah.
To go through only this newsletter, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, and help you understand what's happening in the Drupal world, as captured in this specific week's edition.
Think of it as us sitting around together, scrolling through this newsletter, and pulling out the threads that tell the biggest story. So let's jump right into what this snapshot shows us.
Okay. Looking at it high level, before we even get into the specifics, what strikes me is just the sheer range. It's not just technical code changes. It's community governance, learning resources, business concerns. It really feels like a pulse check on the whole ecosystem.
Absolutely. You've got the big headlines, the granular core updates, articles reflecting what people are writing about and thinking about, tutorials, new releases, even job listings. It covers a lot of ground.
So, starting with those big headlines at the top. First up, the Drupal Association endorses the United Nations open source principles.
That sounds like more than just a technical announcement. What does an endorsement like that signal, based just on this title?
Well, connecting it to the broader landscape, this kind of endorsement from the Drupal Association, it probably positions Drupal within a larger global context.
Okay.
It suggests aligning the project with principles that might relate to, say, digital inclusion, sustainability, ethical development, maybe collaboration on an international scale. I'm saying we're not just code. We stand for these broader values in the open source space. It could be pretty significant for adoption in governmental or nonprofit sectors, I think.
That makes sense. It's definitely a statement beyond the code itself. The second headline highlights election results. Maureen Gandy and Joris Verkamen elected as NEDA representatives to Drupal Working Group. NEDA being Northern Europe, Drupal Association.
Right.
Why is this newsworthy within the context of a weekly Drupal summary?
Well, this points directly to how influence works in the Drupal project.
Oh, okay.
Electing representatives from a regional association to a formal working group means those regional communities and their perspectives get a direct pipeline, into the discussions and decision-making processes that shape Drupal's future.
So it's about representation.
Exactly. It highlights the importance of diverse geographical representation in steering the project. It's about formalizing pathways for different parts of the community to actually have a voice.
Okay, let's shift gears then and dive into what's happening under the hood, the core section. This is where we see changes within Drupal itself.
And here you start to see some clear trends in development focus.
Like this one. Blocks are no longer created automatically when themes or modules are enabled during config sync. As a developer, that feels like a significant change in expected behavior.
Oh, definitely.
What does this change about the configuration management workflow?
This feels like a move towards more explicit configuration. Historically, enabling a theme or module might automatically drop blocks into regions during a config sync, which could be surprising or unwanted.
That's unexpected.
Yeah. This change likely requires developers to now manually place or configure those blocks after the theme or module is enabled via sync. It adds a step, sure, but it removes ambiguity.
Okay.
And it gives the developer more intentional control over the site layout right from the get-go. Less magic, maybe more intentionality.
Interesting. It forces you to be more deliberate. There's a deprecation noted, too, calling Drupal core extension theme installer.construct without the component plugin manager argument is deprecated. Deprecations always signal that old ways are being phased out.
Right. It means the internal API for installing themes is evolving. Code that directly interacts with this specific constructor without providing that new argument. Well, it'll break in a future version.
So a heads up for developers.
Exactly. It's a technical detail, yeah. But it tells us that the underlying architecture for handling themes is being refined, probably to accommodate newer patterns or requirements.
And along those lines, extending the hook attribute is no longer directly supported.
This is another signal of API evolution, specifically around how developers define hooks using PHP attributes, which is the more modern approach, replacing older docblock methods. By restricting direct extension, the core maintainers are likely guiding developers towards a more specific, supported pattern for interacting with or altering the hook discovery mechanism.
So standardizing things.
Yeah, it's about tightening up the API surface and promoting standard practices, I think.
Here's one that caught my eye. Sounds potentially tricky. Package Manager can allow composer operations directly on the live site in some situations.
Ooh, this raises a definite eyebrow. Right. Because running Composer on a live production site is generally considered a major no-no from a stability and security perspective.
Absolutely.
The fact that the package manager can facilitate this in certain configurations means site owners and developers must be acutely aware of their setup. Is this intended for specific, tightly controlled scenarios, or is it a potential vulnerability if misconfigured?
The note doesn't really say.
No, the note itself just states the facts, but the implication is clear. Understand your package manager settings. It points to that double-edged sword of flexibility.
Good point. It really highlights the need for careful configuration. On the performance front, it mentions the cache tags database table is now purged during cache rebuild. What's the practical benefit there, clearing that table when you rebuild?
Sure. The cache tags table is key for fast cache invalidation. When you rebuild the cache, you're essentially clearing out all cache data.
Okay.
Purging the cache tags table at the same time ensures that the metadata about the cache data is also completely fresh.
Prevents mismatches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This prevents potential issues where old cache tags might incorrectly mark data as valid or invalid after full rebuild. It makes the cache rebuild process more robust and reliable, helping prevent those stale content issues.
Gotcha. Finally, in the core section, there's the introduction of the transaction.com permitter release method. Sounds like database operations. What kind of problem does introducing a method like this solve?
Right. Database transactions ensure a series of operations are treated as one unit. Either they all succeed or they all fail, the rollback. A commit release method suggests giving developers finer-grained control over the end of that transaction. Commit finalizes the changes. Release might free up resources or locks associated with the transaction without necessarily doing a full rollback.
So more nuance.
Precisely. It provides a nuance between full commit and full rollback, potentially useful in complex scenarios or error handling. Allows for cleaner management of database interactions within code.
Okay, so summing up the core changes. We see a move towards more explicit config, refining modern APIs like attributes, increased awareness around tools like Package Manager.
Yeah, the potential risks there.
Right. And improvements to fundamental systems like caching and database transactions. It's a mix of tightening control, modernizing, and making core processes more robust.
Exactly. It shows active development, focusing on developer experience, reliability, and really leveraging modern PHP features.
Now let's look at the article section. This gives us a window into what people in the community are writing about, thinking about, and sharing.
This is where you see the practical concerns and broader trends being discussed, outside of the direct core development work.
Like this one. 7 quick ways to cut AWS costs for your Drupal website today. Very practical advice right there.
Absolutely. It immediately tells you that operational cost management is a significant concern for folks running Drupal, particularly on cloud infrastructure like AWS.
Yeah, that resonates.
It highlights a focus on the business side of running Drupal sites efficiently.
There's a piece from Drupal Easy on choosing the right modern Drupal Bootstrap base theme.
This shows that front-end development and theming choices are still very active areas of discussion. Selecting the right base theme is foundational for site building.
Sure is.
And the focus on modern Drupal Bootstrap tells us popular frameworks continue to be relevant, but, with an eye on current practices.
I love this title. Drupal Deployment Confidence. I always quadrangento heptapenta quintuple check my code before deploying. From irixsm.dev quadrangento. That's a lot of checks.
It is.
What does a title this deliberately over the top tell us about the community's mindset?
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the stress and critical importance placed on thoroughness before hitting that deploy button.
For sure.
The title is humorous, but the underlying message is dead serious. Deployment to production is a high-stakes action, and rigorous checking, testing, verification. It's all paramount to avoid bringing down a live site.
It's memorable.
It really is. a memorable way of emphasizing a universal developer, anxiety, and the need for confidence-building practices.
And that really underscores why those core changes we just discussed, like the nuances of config sync or the potential risks with package manager, are so important to understand before you deploy.
Exactly. The technical details in core have direct implications for the real-world challenges discussed in these articles, like deployment confidence or cost management. They're connected.
Right. There's also Enterprise Drupal website migrations done right by Amazy.io.
This reminds us that Drupal is still a major player for large organizations. Migrating complex, large-scale sites into Drupal or onto newer versions remains a significant project type requiring specialized expertise.
Still relevant in the enterprise space.
Definitely speaks to that.
Jacob Rockowitz has a forward-looking piece. Drupal, schema.org, and AI for government.
Now, this is fascinating. It connects Drupal to emerging trends like artificial intelligence and established structured data standards like schema.org, specifically within the context of government digital services. It suggests the community is actively exploring how Drupal can be a platform for leveraging AI.
For what purpose, do you think?
Potentially for better content delivery, search, maybe data integration, particularly in sectors with complex information needs like government.
Interesting. Okay, but woven into all this is a message that feels quite urgent. Still on Drupal 7, that's a technical debt you can't ignore.
Yes, this highlights a persistent, critical challenge for a significant portion of the Drupal user base. Drupal 7's official end of life has passed.
Right, but there's extended support.
There is commercial extended support available, yes, but staying on D7 without a plan carries increasing security and maintenance risks. It's a big deal.
And what's interesting is how the newsletter itself reflects the solutions. Right alongside this urgent message about D7, we see sponsored links. Tag 1 offering D7 extended support, and Optacy offering a free audit to plan an upgrade to Drupal 11.
It shows the newsletters presenting the problem, the technical debt, and risk of staying on D7, and immediately providing potential pathways for addressing it that are active within the community and ecosystem right now.
Problem and potential solutions side by side.
Exactly. It's a clear signal that for many, this transition is the top priority.
It's not just technical and business topics, though. There are community stories, too, like the Drop Times articles. One about a personal journey from Chennai to San Francisco with Drupal in between.
Yeah, those are great.
And another on helping new Drupal developers cross the gap between learning and real-world contribution.
These are important because they show the human element, the global nature of the community, the personal impact of working with Drupal,
Right.
and the conscious effort being made to nurture new talent and bring people into the fold. It's a reminder that the code is built and used by people with diverse backgrounds and journeys.
Good point. Moving to tutorials, these are the practical how-to guides that developers and site builders are using or creating.
Yeah, this section reflects what practical skills and tools the community is focused on implementing right now, what people are actively trying to learn or teach.
There's an automated testing kit for Drupal that focuses on modern tools like Playwright or Cypress, and the source notes, it includes a video intro demo installation option.
This emphasizes the growing importance of automated testing for building reliable and maintainable Drupal sites.
Makes sense.
And providing a kit with demos lowers the barrier to entry for adopting these crucial development practices. It says, look, testing is important, and here's how you can get started easily.
ImageX has part 2 of their Drupal image optimization series, focusing on performance booster modules.
Performance is just a constant battle in web development, isn't it?
Always.
This highlights that specific modules exist to tackle common bottlenecks like images, and that sharing knowledge about these tools is really valuable to the community. It's practical, on-the-ground advice.
And SpecB offers 7 impactful tips to enhance your website's accessibility and how Drupal helps.
Accessibility is super fundamental to building inclusive websites. This article's title tells us the community is focused on practical steps to improve accessibility. And, importantly, that Drupal as a platform offers features or modules that help achieve this. It frames accessibility not just as a compliance issue, but as a solvable challenge aided by the platform.
Which interestingly kind of ties back to that UN principles endorsement you mentioned earlier.
That's a great point. Yeah, accessibility could absolutely fall under those broader ethical or digital inclusion values. Nice connection.
Looking at the releases section and the podcast mention, you really see the breadth of activity across the entire Drupal ecosystem.
What stands out here is the sheer variety in the modules and projects getting updates. You see updates to foundational things like DDev, which is a popular local development tool, and logging with Monolog,
Right, the basics.
but also specific functionalities like user management, autos or name, one-time password, fields, custom field, and even integration with cutting-edge tech like the OpenA client.
That OpenAI client release is particularly telling, showing active work on integrating AI capabilities right into Drupal modules.
It definitely shows the community is rapidly experimenting and building tools to leverage emerging technologies. It's not just maintaining the status quo, it's pushing into new areas.
And mentioning Talking Drupal #503 shows that there's a vibrant external content scene, too. People are discussing these very developments and community goings-on in formats like podcasts.
Absolutely. The ecosystem isn't just code, it's content, discussion, and ongoing development across a really wide range of tools and functionalities.
Finally, the jobs sections list positions like full-stack Drupal engineer, lead Drupal developer, and DevOps full-stack developer.
Yeah, the presence of these listings, especially for varied roles, including senior and specialized positions like DevOps, indicates a pretty healthy and active job market centered around Drupal.
Suggests demand?
It suggests there's ongoing demand for skilled professionals, for sure.
So bringing it all together based only on this single snapshot from May 22nd, 2025. What does this picture tell us about the state of Drupal right now?
Well, it tells us it's a platform that is actively modernizing its core. It's focusing on developer experience and reliability through API changes and clearer configurations. It's grappling with the significant challenge of managing legacy versions like Drupal 7 while simultaneously providing practical guidance on operational concerns like cost, performance, and accessibility.
Right, that D7 pressure is clear.
Very clear. And importantly, the community is vibrant, focused on growth and support, and actively exploring how to integrate new technologies like AI and improve fundamental development workflows through better tooling and testing. It's busy.
It really does give you a comprehensive, curated view just from 1 week's collection of links. We've seen the deep technical work, the real-world business and deployment concerns, the community's focus on growth, and that forward-looking exploration of new tech.
Diving into a source like TheWeeklyDrop really cuts through the noise, doesn't it? It highlights what's currently front and center for the project and its community.
It absolutely distills what's important. So, here's a thought for you to consider, based on everything we just unpacked from this single newsletter issue.
Okay.
Given the simultaneous focus in this one snapshot on core technical improvements aimed at the future, the urgent and ongoing need to address the legacy of Drupal 7, and the exploration of completely new areas like AI integration and enhanced accessibility, what does this particular mix suggest are the biggest, perhaps even conflicting forces shaping the Drupal community's priorities right now?
That's a great question. It's fascinating how those different pressures, modernizing, managing the past, and reaching for the future, show up side by side like this all at once.
Indeed. Something to mull over as you consider the landscape. Thanks for diving in with us.
Okay, we're done. To close off this podcast, I just wanted to remind you that this brief was a fully AI-generated summary, and we take no credit for the original content. If you want to learn more, then check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. And if you like this podcast, hit subscribe, post a link on social media, and recommend it to 2 friends. That's it. See you next time. Bye for now.